Conversations in Education with Superintendent Narvaez.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our new show, Conversations in Education, here at Hartford Public Access Television. In this monthly show, starting today, we will talk about all the things that are happening in Hartford Public Schools and around our community. For today, our first show, we are lucky to have a very special guest in Mayor Luke Bronin, who took over as the leader of the city of Hartford in January 2016. He was sworn in to office on January 1st as the 67th mayor of Hartford and has hit the ground working to make Hartford the cultural and economic heart of this region of 1.5 million people. He's a father of 3, a husband, and a veteran. As a U.S. Navy officer, he served in Afghanistan on the military's anti-corruption task force. He also served in the Obama administration as Deputy Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Treasury Department and also as General Counsel in Governor Malloy's administration. Welcome, Mayor Luke Bronin, to our very first episode of Conversations in Education. We're so glad that you could join us, and we're really eager to hear your vision for education in the city of Hartford.
Thanks very much. It's great to be with you.
Great. Well, what does education mean to you, and how has it impacted your dreams and your career?
I think I attribute everything in my life to education, and that starts not with me, but really with my family. You know, for both of my parents, both of whom were the first generation in their families to go to college, education was the thing that allowed them to achieve the American dream. You know, my dad was the son of a single mom who worked at a local hospital. They didn't have much, and what they did have was a public school that gave him the foundation that he, by working hard and studying hard, was able to get into college on a full scholarship, you know, work his way eventually through medical school and become a doctor. But education was the thing that transformed his life and that gave him the ability to give me the opportunities that I had in education, and really a similar story on my mother's side. So, you know, I think I've always grown up thinking of education as the reason that I was able to do so much in my life, and having it drilled into me from both my parents that there's nothing more important than education. And that's how I feel now. And I think that's why when we look at our obligations as a city, there's really nothing more important than making sure we have an educational system that is giving our kids that same opportunity. Education is the key to the American dream. If we talk about equality or equality of opportunity, it all starts with education. So at a personal level, from a family standpoint, that I think is that's been the story of my family. But at an individual level, you know, I had the chance to go to college, get a great education, end up going to graduate school after that, into law school, and that gave me the tools to do you know, the things that I've been lucky enough to do so far.
It's so powerful to hear your family story, because so often we say that parents are their children's first teachers. So.
There's no question about it. And for me, my parents were not just my first, but my most important and my best teachers, and continue to be.
Yeah.
You know.
That's really great. What was your favorite subject in school?
My favorite subjects were English and history. You know, I was not so much a math and science guy.
STEM education wasn't for you.
it wouldn't have been my strong suit, but history and literature, history and English were always my deeper passions.
Yeah. What was it about them that captured your interest?
You know, For me, history just gives you a perspective on everything that you see in the world, that it informs the way you look at everything, at our present, at the future, being able to look at things and understand that a lot of times there's nothing new under the sun, that the kind of challenges you're facing have been dealt with in other times. And I especially love biography. You know, I love reading about people's life story and how they built their lives and how their personal stories are tied in with the broader sweep of history, you know, in their community, in their state, in their country, in the world, and being able to put individual lives in that broader context. That's just something that I've always been passionate about and love. And even now, I've got 3 kids, so there's not a lot of time aside from work and family, but when I'm able to steal a few minutes, that's still how I like to spend my time is reading, and especially reading biographies.
Yeah.
So I'm working my way, 10 pages at a time through a biography of Lincoln right now.
That's really great. That's what I loved in school too. I would have to say I love social studies because I loved learning people's stories. And we still talk about that a lot in the Hartford Public Schools, the power in knowing the stories of our students and our families and our schools, to know them well, so that we can provide the best service and the best support to our kids and families. So it's something we have in common in terms of similar likes of subjects in school. So talk about the city and your vision for education in the city of Hartford.
Well, I want Hartford to have the kind of education system that I described earlier, the kind of education system that allows every kid, no matter where they live, no matter how they fare in a lottery, that gives them the basic tools that they need to build whatever future they aspire to build. That education is the foundation that they can build everything on. It should never be the thing that limits somebody. It should be the thing that takes all of the limits off. And like I said, I think there's the 2 most profound responsibilities of government, especially at the local level, are I think education and public safety.
In your campaign, you talked a lot about neighborhood schools.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about strengthening our neighborhood schools? It certainly was something that came up when I first arrived and started last year and engaged in a transition into this leadership position. People said there was great urgency to improve neighborhood schools.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you and I have talked a lot about this. I think we as a city have, over the last 10 years, we have created a lot of opportunities by building magnet schools. They have created a lot of opportunities for kids that might not have been there otherwise.
Yes.
But at the same time, I do think we've lost something at our neighborhood school level. I think we've lost something as a city, as communities, where we're no longer thinking of our neighborhood schools as the center of community, the center of neighborhood. I think we've lost something in that way. And I think it's also just undeniable that our neighborhood schools face a different set of challenges. In particular, they have a far higher percentage of English language learners and of kids with special education needs.
Right.
And we need to make sure that as we look across our entire educational system, that all parts of the system, whether it's Hartford Public Magnet or CREC Magnet or private schools or charters or the Hartford Public Neighborhood Schools, that all of them are doing a part of the common responsibility of delivering quality education to all the kids, including those kids with the highest needs. And so, I think maybe the best thing we can do to strengthen our neighborhood schools is to share that responsibility for serving our kids with the highest needs across the system more equitably.
You've also talked a lot about the importance of youth employment, and I know you're focusing on a youth service corps to attend to young adults ages 16 to 24, and just would like to give you an opportunity to speak more about that and how you see it fitting in with our internship program that we offer to our juniors and seniors in high school.
Yeah, I think, my youth service corps program is to some extent aimed at kids who have been disengaged, including disengaged from school.
Sure.
And, it's that group of kids that President Obama has referred to as opportunity youth. 16 to 24, they may be out of school, they may they're not working, but they deserve a chance to get on track, to have the experience of employment, and hopefully to get on the path that leads them to a career. We have a lot of great programs in the city for employment. I think the internship program that you have is terrific. There's the summer employment program that serves over 1,000 kids. It's not enough. It's not big enough. We need to do some work to try to continue to expand that. But for me, the Youth Service Corps is filling a gap that exists right now. We have, in parts of our city, Great Depression level unemployment. And I think we need to look at some of the solutions that were used during the Great Depression. The Civilian Conservation Corps did the same kind of thing I'm talking about doing. It put young people directly to work, paycheck in their pocket, doing things that built the infrastructure of our country. Roads, bridges, national parks. At the local level, I think we can and need to do the same thing. We need to put our young people who are the most in need of an opportunity to get the experience of working, get that sense of pride, and get the paycheck, and have them doing things that will strengthen their community, their neighborhood, and that will be visible to them and to everybody else. Whether it's helping to maintain trails in our beautiful parks, or whether it's helping to clean up blighted properties, whether it's helping seniors with their leaves or the snow, or put a new coat of paint on their house, those kinds of things. And I hope that for those kids who have disengaged, either they've dropped out of school, or they're chronically absent from school, or they're past 18 but they're not working, to get them re-engaged through employment, and then I hope also get them re-engaged in other activities as well.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. I hadn't heard you speak of the Youth Service Corps in that way before, comparing it to the Civilian Conservation Corps, so thank you for sharing that vision with us. And speaking of vision, here's a big question. Tell us about your hopes for the children of Hartford.
My hope for the children of Hartford is that every child in Hartford has the opportunity to be whatever they want to be, to do whatever they want to do. And that can be as simple as growing up, getting a job, raising their family in a city that they love. It can be that, or it can be that they set their aspiration on being a doctor like my dad, or being a lawyer, or being a teacher, or being a superintendent, or being an artist, or a musician. A few years ago, somebody who had done a lot of work with kids in Hartford said to me something I will never forget, which was, and Hartford has some of the greatest minds the world will never know. And I think that statement is tragically true. And so my vision for our education system and for the kids in Hartford is that we get to a time when we can no longer say that. When the greatest minds in Hartford, no matter where they are, no matter what their family circumstances or their neighborhood, that they have the chance to show the world, or to show their city, what they're capable of, what they're passionate about.
Yeah, so much potential here in our kids. We really talk about our students as the future talent, right? Not only of the city, but of the region, our state, the nation, the world. Can you speak to that a little bit, to talk about how you think about the education system and how it fits with our workforce?
Yeah, and our workforce has been changing a lot. There aren't as many low-skilled and non-skilled jobs. There was a time when we had a lot of low-skilled manufacturing in the region, and that created job opportunities. The reality today is that most of the job opportunities require education, require training, require education beyond high school.
That's right.
And so if we're going to position our kids to be successful, we need to make sure that we're not just getting them to a graduation date, we're giving them the tools to go beyond. And I love and embrace your vision of trying to give every kid in Hartford the opportunity to go to college. And that's something we should all embrace, I think. But regardless of whether a child chooses to go to college, we need to give them the tools that allow them, after the graduation from high school, to pursue a career, and to pursue a well-paid career. And there are job opportunities out there. One of the opportunities and also the frustrations right now is that even in the greater Hartford region, there is a demand for employment.
Yes.
We have some of those same companies that I talked about as once providing the unskilled labor, companies like United Technologies. They still have demand. They still are hiring people, but they need to hire folks for skilled manufacturing jobs instead of unskilled. The demand is there. What we need to do is make sure we're preparing our kids to fill those jobs and to get on the path to a career in those places. And if we do that, I think it's also part of the city's success overall and the region's success overall. We actually have a pretty young population here in Hartford.
That's true.
And so if we can prepare our kids for the workforce of today and for the future, that becomes an economic driver that changes the dynamic for our city and for our region.
That's right. We say our vision in the Hartford Public Schools is that our students will transform their world.
That's right.
Any final messages for the families and children of Hartford Public Schools?
Well, my first message to the kids would be to come back to the beginning. There is nothing more important than education. I spent this morning, today is National Read Across America Day, and I spent the morning visiting school and reading a book to some fourth graders. And I asked them, I said to each of them, how many of you read a book every day? And it was great to see almost every one of them raise their hands. And I asked them, how many of you have little siblings, a little brother or sister? And I asked them, how many of you read to your little brother or sister? And almost all of them raised their hands. And it was great to see. That's what I would say to our kids is, make sure that you are doing everything you can to spend as much time and energy on your education, because it will pay off in ways you cannot even imagine. And at the same time, if you're a big brother, big sister, share that with your younger brothers and sisters. You know,
Good
help
advice,
be a
yeah.
teacher to them.
Yeah.
And to our families, I guess I would say, just get involved in any and every way you can. And even if it is as simple as making sure your kids are sitting down at the kitchen table or on the couch and doing their homework, that alone can transform their lives. So I think you, your team, and all the tremendous teachers, dedicated teachers you have through the system, all of our paraprofessionals, everybody else who's part of the school system is only part of education. We need to make sure that everybody in the city of Hartford is a part of the educational process too. And obviously that means kids. It also means parents.
Well, thank you for that great advice and for your partnership. You have been a fantastic first guest on this new show, Conversations in Education, and we hope this isn't your last appearance on the show. And just personally, I want to thank you for all the support that you've shown to me, and I really appreciate the partnership that we have with the City of Hartford.
Well, I'd be glad to come back anytime, and looking forward to working together.
Great. Thanks again for your leadership.
Thanks.
I want to again thank Mayor Luke Bronin for being our first guest today and for sharing his thoughts with us. And many thanks to all our viewers out there for joining us in this dialogue. We hope you tune in again for our next show. And remember that these conversations in education are available for web streaming at HPA-TV.org and at HartfordPublicSchools.org.